I think Yvonne, Juliet, and I are wearing blue.
Perfect. We have already a few participants joining. Welcome, everyone. We are giving a few more seconds, minutes for other participants to join. And I do take the opportunity to thank you for your punctuality. And I hope that you have your coffee ready, your notebook ready, your pens ready for you to start taking notes of the insights that will be shared today. Welcome, everyone. We are giving a few more minutes for people to join. Awesome. So I think that we can begin. So welcome, everyone. My name is Ana Maria Saldarriaga, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of We Are All Human. Today is the first of a 6-part capacity building series where we will be sharing best practices and real-life examples on how organizations and individuals are bringing to life the 6 pillars of the Hispanic Promise. For those of you who might not be familiar with, the Hispanic Promise is the first of its kind national and corporate pledge to prepare, hire, promote, retain, celebrate, and buy from Hispanics in the workplace. Launched at the World Economic Forum in 2019, and as a result of joint efforts of multiple Hispanic organizations, the Hispanic Promise is a non-legally binding sign of intention, a call to action for business leaders and companies of corporate America to create a more inclusive work environment for Hispanics. To date, more than 300 companies have signed the pledge, and we encourage you to do it right now in case you haven't, or that you share it with other organizations in case you have. Like I mentioned, this is the first of the series, where we will be hosting an insightful panel discussion on the first pillar of the Hispanic Promise, which is the pillar of prepare. During this conversation, we will explore how corporations can better connect with educational centers, engage with talent from early stages, communicate labor market needs, and the importance of creating broad DEI strategies that go beyond the corporation's employees and inspire, motivate, and educate the next generations after them. As attendees, you can expect to learn practical and applicable information from industry experts on how to develop effective strategies for talent development, diversity, and inclusion. Whether you are an educator, a corporate leader, or simply interested in the future of work and education, this panel is an excellent opportunity to learn and share ideas with like-minded professionals. Now, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you our stellar panel for today. First, we have Yvonne Diaz, who is the CEO of HISPA. She is the founder and president of Hispanics Inspiring Students Performance and Achievement, HISPA, a non-for-profit that mobilizes Latino role models to inspire Latino students to pursue higher education. Then we have Veronica Calderon, the Chief Inclusion, Belonging, and Equity Officer of the DeVry University. Among her responsibilities, Veronica leads the implementation of the university's long-term vision and goals of diversity, equity, and inclusion, including building new programs and trainings for students, faculty, and colleagues, overseeing its business resource groups. Last is Juliet Antoine, VP Senior Technology Risk Manager at Flagstar Bank. She joined the bank in December of 2020, and her role is to identify potential risk in information technology and information security, and to develop protocols that staff must follow to manage those risks. And she is a big champion of the Hispanic community. Now, this is the panel that we're going to have today. I am very honored to be the moderator, but I do want you to start feeling that this is a conversation in which you are participating. So as you have reactions and questions, feel free to put them in the chat and then see how other participants can also help each other. So let's start with Veronica. What are some examples or best practices, programs, or initiatives that your organization has implemented to advance the Prepare pillar?
Thank you for the question. And this is a very exciting one, because when I think about this question, it's twofold for us. One, which is the internal, so for our colleagues and our faculty, and the external piece of it, which is for our students. So I'll give you a little bit about both, but we do it for both via education. For our colleagues, we have developed phenomenal programs that allows us to develop them internally, but also just strategically place them in these programs to advance within DeVry University. We also have a phenomenal Latino resource group, and its name is SOL, S-O-L, and it stands for Society of Latinx. And we use our BRGs as a pipeline builder for leadership roles within the organization. We have a phenomenal retention rate, but also we can see how a lot of our current leaders continue to grow within the organization, but also provide mentorship to others. Our senior leadership team serves as executive sponsor for our BRGs, and for SOL, our executive sponsor is our chief marketing officer, who is also a Latino. So I'm really wanting to create this kind of complete circle of from the time you start with us to the time that you kind of grow out of it, hopefully not, but really providing with tools and resources via education. And then when I think about our students, we are doing a lot of work to close the opportunity gap when we think about, especially in technology-driven careers. And when we think about those who identify as Hispanic or Latinos or Latinas, we make up about 18.5% of the US population, yet we are only 8% of us in tech career sectors who make up our community. And then only 2% of that are Hispanic women. So when we really take a look at that and say, what else can DeVry do to drive more higher education in technology, bring more Latino women, bring more Latinos overall to higher ed and to technology? We are doing what we call closing the opportunity gap, and we're doing that by the creation of the Next Gen Hispanic Scholars Program, which is a program that is truly for Latinos, for Hispanics, for Latinx community, to provide mentorship, to provide tools, to provide resources, but also a bigger exposure to tech careers. So you're not just getting classroom exposure, you're actually getting so much more from us that will allow you to understand what your role would be once you get out in the real life. And so that's kind of some of the things that we are doing. And then when we add to that for the student sector, we have DEI-driven courses. So yes, you're going to school to be, to be in technology, but we have courses that you can add to your undergrad and to your grad career that would teach you how to lead inclusive teams, how to be an inclusive leader, how to have inclusive language when you're leading a team. So we have courses that are truly designed to make our students that desirable person who wants to pursue a tech career. And Anna, you're on mute.
You could read my lips in which I was saying thank you so much. That Juliet, we would love to hear from you. What are some of these best practices from your side?
No, thank you, Anna. And Veronica, I love what you were saying, because as somebody in the IT world, and I've been here my whole career, right? I didn't have somebody that looked like me, that had the same background. I moved here from Mexico. So I love what you're doing at your school. And I hope that it continues to propagate across all the other schools, because it is needed. I think that that support and just seeing somebody else that just looks like you, has the same background, same challenges, right, that we have as we're trying to immerse ourselves in the business world. Just having that support is so critical. So one of the things, a couple of things that we do at Flagstar Bank, we're very lucky that we have a very strong DEI program in place. And one of the things we do is called mentoring circles, where we send it to all of the participants in all the different ERG groups to participate in this 4-month small circle mentoring program. It's made up of leaders internally and external facilitators from DEI organizations to help people develop skill sets. We break them up by levels. We bring them in, they have to have, they have to apply to be in the program. Once they're accepted, they'll be in the program for the 4 months, and then they are going to get the benefit of individual mentorship, small group mentorship, and then just the overall group. We break them up by level so that it is really targeted advice that they're receiving, and it is practical, right? If you have somebody that's in the first 1 to 3 years of their career, they're going to need different mentoring and advice than somebody that's been in for 10 years. So I really loved it when I learned about it, when I came in here, and I've been able to observe and then just give feedback from a mentoring perspective, which has been great. The other way that we support our employees in the DEI space is by allowing anyone to have a leadership role in the ERG boards. And this is a really great way for somebody that's not in management level yet to really be in that leadership role and kind of, I would say, like, break the ground and make the mistakes in a safe environment, because we are all going to make mistakes every time we come in and do something new. That is something I keep telling everybody, don't ever be afraid. Like, just keep pushing forward, because you are going to make a few mistakes here and there, but you learn from them, and that's how you keep moving forward. So we have a really good support system in our leadership boards to make sure that we have a mix of balance of experience and people that have not been in a leadership role before, so that we can support them. We do have programs that are established so that they have the opportunity to present in the large small group, whereas maybe only 20-30 people kind of get past the nerves, because the first few times you do that, it's another thing that you have to get past, and you get better at it as time goes by. So I'm very, very grateful that we have had that support. In previous companies, we've had similar programs. So I'm loving the evolution that I am seeing through my career, and seeing more formal established programs that can support all of us. You're on mute, Anna.
I think I'm not going to keep muting. My environment, it's okay. So Yvonne.
Well, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. I'm also come from the techie world, and all my experiences, everything that I do today is a result of having raised my hand to be part of the employee resource group of a company many years ago. The work of HISPA is truly about being the connector for all of us, all the leaders in academia, in government, and the corporate world, to be able to step into classrooms, to share our stories, and eradicate the lack of role models as an obstacle that our students face today. When you think about that, there is something we can eradicate together. So our mission, our goal is to be that one-stop shop for the schools, such that we can optimize the way that we bring our programming into middle schools, 9th, 10th graders. Our programs are very focused at that age. All of that is based on research that shows that at that point, the students have big aspirations, and the only thing they're missing is knowing the pathway forward to achieve that success and the validation that is possible. So we started this vision over 15 years ago, where we, started with just literally 100 volunteers, mainly my friends that came from my corporate experience. And we went to just 4 schools and started this initiative, started to measure the impact of what we're doing. This year, We are working with 34 schools, and we are about to reach the 500 school visit mark in just 1 year. So a big, big thank you to all the Latino role models that have said yes to our invitation. Our goal, I'm an optimizer, my background is in mathematics, and I'm always thinking how to optimize the resources that we have for the schools and for our corporations and academia and government to impact our community. How do we do it in an efficient way such that we value your time as a volunteer, the dollars that your corporations can invest in this initiative, and also the times that the schools have to manage any activities. So with all of that, we have been able to build this amazing organization where we are collaborating with individuals from many different industries. A great example is a partnership that we have right now with Verizon, for example, where we collaborate with them and we have access to hundreds of Latino professionals, and we are able to lead the initiatives for them. And our initiatives are threefold. First is stepping into classrooms, coming into the school systems, being present during the school day. This is not an afternoon program or a Saturday program. This is something that we've been able to incorporate into the day-to-day of the students. Then we organize corporate visits where we bring the students to the corporate offices. We also do a youth conference when we all come together, and I'm still like feeling very grateful and a smile in my face. Last week, we were at Princeton University with 200 ninth graders, all English learners from Trenton, New Jersey. And we have volunteers from Verizon and also from other companies like PSE&G and Merck, etc. So the dream is that all of us, at least once a year, can share the story and showcase those pathways in the classrooms. If all of us did that, we will be changing truly. We're literally changing the future of this country. Just to think that we are eradicating a problem in society is something that we can do together. So, I think of HISPA, HISPA is here to serve the corporations, to serve the universities, to serve government and be that connector and do it in an efficient way. So.
Totally. Thank you so much. I think that you all have laid down very concrete examples as to what are things that are working in the real world to solve the issue of 87% of Hispanics saying and reporting that they have experiencing prejudice because of their race. And you very generously guide us from very concrete examples, from mentoring to training to providing leadership roles in safe environments that allows them to try out their experience, their skills, and enhance their experiences. And I'm very interested to also see if you have developed mechanisms that allows us to track advancement within all of these programs that you have implemented. So when it comes to achieving tangible results, this process of tracking results becomes quite challenging, especially for programs like these ones. So Veronica, we would like to hear from you. Do you have examples on that?
We do. And so I've always talked about this, and it makes me smile because I've said, telling a good story, it's good for a moment, right? Because it's heartfelt and you're like, wow, you're advancing this many people. But when you actually put something in front of them that is tangible, that it's numbers that people can see, then you can see how the needle is moving. So there's a couple of things that we do, but on a monthly, quarterly, and annual basis, we actually track internal promotions. So we go beyond just our normal engagement survey, which also has a lot of DEI questions on it that we can narrow down by demographics, by gender. And then we can continue. We have continuously seen in the past couple of years how our numbers continue to rise, especially with our communities of color and Hispanic and Latinos. But then also we take it a step further. We have a scorecard that we look at that goes hand in hand with our diversity, equity, and inclusion goals. So part of our goals continues to be, like I mentioned, closing the gap. So when you think about that internally, is I can actually see our promotion rates narrow down by ethnicity, by gender, And then we take it a step further and say, well, how many of these are part of our BRGs, or business resource groups, or ERGs, employee resource groups, and continuing to see that pattern of look at our trajectory and look at what we are providing that is actually making a difference. So we are actively doing that. We have great access to internal numbers, internal data that helps us tell the story. So everything I shared with you all earlier about closing the gap in tech careers and advancing internal talent, it's our great stories to tell, but we actually have the data to back it up and see how we are intentionally moving the needle.
Amazing. And I'm very interested to hear more about intersectionality in impact measurement. So any examples that you want to refer our audience to that you might think that they're helpful, we will welcome them in the chat. And another reminder for all of our participants that in case you want to engage in conversation, put your comments, put your reactions or your questions in the chat, and then we will try to address them as we go. Now, when it continuing the same line of tracking advancement, Yvonne, do you have examples from your end?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is the part of volunteer management tracking. So because we are that connector that wants to efficiently, impact the community by bringing the Latino role models with the Latino students, we are able to, by company, report back. These are the volunteers that gave so many hours back to the community through these initiatives. So that's one way of tracking their engagement, their volunteer hours, and how their donations to the organization translate into impact in the community. There are also all the metrics that we track in relation to what are the students saying or reacting to based on the messages that we're bringing to them. We are able to do pre-surveys and post-surveys from all our activities. We also collect data based on what the students are experiencing in each one of the events. And the idea is that when you put all of that together, we can see patterns. And we've been doing that now for 15 years. And even through the pandemic, when we went completely virtual, we are able to see that on average, over 90% of the students say they're inspired to do better in school. Over 90% of the students say that because of us, now they're going to do better in school, or they're going to do something different. We ignite a change in their attitude towards higher education. We are also teaching them about the careers of the future, things that they don't know about. So the numbers are definitely higher. There's sometimes 93%, 95%. So I'm just doing a bound of over 90% of the students also say that they're learning about new careers. They might not be interested in that specific career, but they are saying, now I know that these are careers that are out there and that I belong on those fields. So that's the most important part, right? That we're showcasing that to the students. We are also very blessed that we are, as we progress, as we get older, these students are becoming adults, and we have now students that are coming back to HISPA to say, I also want to be a role model. I want to give back in the way that I receive. We have a beautiful story of a student at Rutgers University. He's studying aerospace engineering. And he said it was because of the HISPA role models that he saw himself differently. He said that always what he will hear is that he's a minority. And for him, that was something super negative. And the role models validated to him that, he was so much more than that one word. So we're starting to get those beautiful anecdotes of students that we are inspired to discover, discover a potential that they had, and they took action towards that goal. So those are, so you can look at it two ways. What are the corporations wanting to measure? How the dollars are being used to impact the community, reporting on those volunteer hours, volunteer activities, how many volunteers, and then the part that is about truly the impact that we're having. And we do reports per company where you get even the comments that the students say, she inspired me to do this, he inspired me this way. So we do provide all of that data back to our role models.
Totally. Thank you. I have taken a few notes that I'm not sure if the participants will agree with me, but I think that I'm hearing that when it comes to tracking, it's all about being able to capture the stories of impact that are happening in the grassroots level. but also tracking the type of decisions that are being taken top down that are enabling these stories in the community level. So whenever you are thinking of implementing a tracking advancement mechanism, you have to think on these two fronts, the top-down measurements that you're going to track, and also the beneficiaries or community people that are benefiting directly from these interventions. Number two is that we need to track holistically. And from you, I heard intersectionality, for example, gender lenses, generational lenses, ableism lenses. I also heard about traceability and the importance of like not do it like as a one-time thing, but constantly keep tracking so you can see the progress made throughout the years. And then make sure that, and this is something that I know for a fact that we do here at We Are All Human, and is that we should be in the business, not necessarily of policing, but of encouraging and celebrating the progress that is being made. We all know that this type of impact is quite difficult to measure. And when we try to just quantify what is not being done, it is lost in the universe of the qualitative stories that are in fact having impact. So those are my takeaways. I would be very interested to hear again from all of you what you are listening. And then now we're moving to the next question on what are the barriers that you have faced when you have tried to implement these programs and advance this prepare pillar in your own organizations. So let us start with Juliet for this.
Sure, thank you, Anna. I would say the biggest barrier we've encountered is participation, right? There are different reasons why people choose or are hesitant to participate. And what we have found is some people are hesitant because they feel they may not be ready, or they feel that they don't belong in participating in these programs, or they are going to fail. And we've done quite a bit of work in reassuring people that they shouldn't let those barriers stop them, that they need to take that chance, just move, raise the hand, be comfortable being uncomfortable. That is something that you learn early on, and that's really is going to get you progressing and learning new skill sets, making new connections. I've met through my work with, ERGs at every company I've been with, I've met people in other departments that I've, lifetime friendships that I would have never met otherwise. And sometimes they also become like really good champions for you in your career, and you don't even realize it, because they are in positions that behind the scenes, they put in a good word for you, and that helps you with a promotion or getting a new project that, you've been wanting to get on. So don't ever let that fear of the unknown or feeling that you may not be ready. It's okay if you don't feel ready. That is the whole purpose of these programs, or just volunteering for something, because you are going to then learn skill sets. You're going to be a little uncomfortable. You might be the person walking in the room, and you are going to be the only Latina in there. And that's okay to be the first one, because now you're paving the way for somebody else. You're going to be that role model. Or you're going to walk in and be lucky and there's 5 other ones there. So you're going to make that connection. Don't just gravitate to the people that look like you, talk like you. Meet other people, get comfortable with that, develop that skill set, because that is also going to help you in walking into new situations. So I would say, that's been the most difficult one for us when we have opportunities for events or to represent in boards. I was given the opportunity to be on a nonprofit board, and it is an inner city program for literary arts, right? So it's not just Latinos. I'm expanding now my world of giving back to just inner city. So it is different groups that are underrepresented, and we are, trying to enhance their education. It was different for me because I was used to always helping in the Latino organizations, but now I've made different friendships, and I'm connecting now with different leaders in the community, and it is helping me see things from a different lens of how we're all attacking the same problem from the different groups, and coming together, I think, is just going to be more effective. So I would just ask you to keep that in mind whenever you're, presented with an opportunity that you're like, "Ooh, I don't think I can do it." Push yourself, and you will be grateful.
Fantastic. Super, super helpful. This separation of the barriers that you need to overcome as an individual, because I heard a lot about like how you are going to be comfortable being uncomfortable and being okay being the first one, but then also understanding that you're not alone, that you are doing a work that is going to benefit a lot of other community members, and that you can rely on those community members to get the strength in order for you to be that pioneer. So thank you for those insights. Now, what about you, Veronica?
Yeah, I love everything Juliet said, and I think what I will always continue to add is the intentionality, right? The intentionality on everything we do, whether it is making sure that there's also Latino representation on our boards, Latino representation in our leadership, because we want those who are trying to prepare to look up to those who are already there, and I really think about that every day. So for us, it really has started with a lot of intentionality. And also, just because it starts with me, it doesn't end with me. So I am the one that is pushing us to do this, but it has to become part of the organization's DNA to say, what else are we going to do? How are we going to prepare our internal colleagues, or how are we going to prepare our students to be part of this, to be part of something greater? And part of that, it has been too, is just how intentional we are in our recruitment. So when I think about prepare, I think about how we have prepared our recruiters to really go after high talented Latinos, Latinas, and that are ready for this tech careers, that are ready to be part of our team. But then also on the student side, how do we break down barriers of those who still don't see themselves in these careers? And so that's why when we came up with Closing the Opportunity Gap and the Next Gen Hispanic Scholars Program, it's our attempt to really try to break down a lot of barriers and say, yep, you belong here too. And our professors also, or faculty members will look like them, and everything that they get, it's tailored to our community. And I think that is extremely important. And the biggest barriers is still that we are not fully represented in some of these rooms. But what Juliet said, what I'm doing, and I'm sure, and what Yvonne is doing, everyone is chipping in. So this story is going to change the future narrative of tech.
Totally. So I hear that the other barrier is a lot about being able to empower others. Like once you have this intentionality, put it, let's say, as the barrier number one that needs to be overcome, being able to bring others along would be the second barrier. And some of the things that I kind of heard that you mentioned was being very intentional on what is the goal that you want to achieve. And then if you combine that with your previous answers on like how to track progress, I think that you might have a winning combination to test throughout the years. So fantastic. Now we're moving to our last question before we go into the questions that we have already received from some of our participants. And this one will go to also Juliet and Yvonne. What resources or support do you need that would help the advancement on the prepare pillar within your organization? Let's start with Juliet.
Sure. No, thank you, Anna. So I think, we definitely leverage the infographics and all the other information that Hispanic Star puts out. We use that in our regular presentations all the time in our ERG group. We also use the stats to help us with our business cases whenever we're trying to obtain additional funding for something. So that's been always super, super helpful. And, from our company, with Flagstar, we're really grateful the ERGs each receive a budget. So we are able to have an impact on the community. We're able to give back to small nonprofits that may not make the radar of the larger, companies, the larger foundations. So we're able to do a little bit of impact, not just volunteering people to come to events, mentor, help out, but also actually contribute money to it. We leverage also our Flagstar Foundation to give larger amounts to organizations, and that goes through a more rigorous process. As I mentioned earlier, I sit on a board. By sitting on a board, I'm also eligible to request for funding for that nonprofit from the foundation, which is in addition to all these other sources. So I think, if more corporations start putting the dollars behind, that helps really advance all of the programs. It helps us support not just by giving volunteers, because that is something we typically do. We do the junior achievement at the local Latino schools. We go in, or most of us are bilingual. There's always kids in there that just arrived that don't speak English yet. So it's great to really be able to do the program when go back and forth with English and Spanish, and just seeing that impact directly, but then being able to also give money is a huge thing. And by leveraging, I think that a lot of the stats that you have given us, it has really been helpful for us.
Thank you. I do want to take this opportunity to invite everyone here to go to HispanicStar.org and download our Hispanic Heritage Month toolkit that contains a lot of facts and a lot of these infographics that were being mentioned, because as you might have heard from the panelists, do not reinvent the wheel. You don't have to start from scratch. One of the resources and support that you can have to advance this pillar and all others is to search of what has been done already and maximize it. And then the second thing is try to be creative with the available budgets, either from an ERG standpoint of view, or if you don't have access to that, then be creative and create it yourself. So yes, go and enjoy the toolkit that we have created for all of you. Now, Yvonne.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, obviously resources for us mean different things. One is access to volunteers. One is the dollars to be able to expand our program to more schools and grow the number of programs within the schools that we are in, and also the in-kind support. So we have been extremely successful in mobilizing, recruiting, training Latino role models. We have amazing numbers of people participating, more that we have the resources to be able to manage the schools with the relationships. That is very delicate. It requires a lot of love and attention when we work with the schools, even though we're able to, like, one person manage relationship with 15 or 16 schools. It is something that is an obstacle for HISPA to grow faster. When you think about this 1 year, we're impacting about 3,500 students. And when we think the numbers, that's like 1% of the Latino students out there. It just feels, I have this sense of urgency to share this opportunity for corporations, for universities to understand that, this is when you invest in a nonprofit organization or an initiative like HISPA, you're really doing much more than the corporate social responsibility. You are also providing a unique professional development opportunity for your employees. They become leaders in the community. They're seeing themselves in a different way. You can be a leader in your corporation. That's another thing, is to be a leader in your community. At the same time, you're planting the seeds for the future workforce. This is your Latino educational and professional pipeline. So you are planting the seeds. So when those students hear the role models and mention their companies, guess what is, when they go to the first career fair, where do you think they're going to go? They're going to go to your companies first to look for those internships and those first jobs. It is also a way to celebrate your achievement. Is truly diversity, equity, and inclusion in action. You are bringing your message to the community. You're celebrating who you are. And it's retention, because you are happy because your company is supporting you in impacting your community, which is the community that's going to grow the fastest for the future. So, with all of that, for us is the sense of urgency of how do we find new sources of funding for the work that we're doing. Corporations is one, but also now for us is to build relationship with government agencies where they can see what we are able to do and be able to support us. So we're looking for all of those opportunities to continue to grow this initiative. Like HISPA is really a project for all of us to come together and eradicate a problem in society, the lack of Latino role models for our youth. So there's an invitation out there. If you have some ideas, connections with private foundations, we do want to make sure that we can bring this program to more students. The beautiful thing is that we have built something that is replicable, and that's powerful.
Thank you so much, Yvonne, and super clear on the fact that resources mean different things depending on the cost. And I also hear a lot on make sure that you're intentional in where you put your money in order to be able to maximize the resources that are available to the cost. So now we are getting to the last part of this panel. I feel that we just started and I am eager to keep asking more questions. And or attendees, particularly Patricia Conde, asks, and this is a question that any of the panelists can take, so you let me know, do you have research on the experiences, skills, and aspirations of Latinos Gen Z individuals that employers can use to gain insights on how to attract, retain, and develop this talent pool effectively? We all know that Gen Z are different from millennials, and they are wondering if you know of any resources on this front.
Well, what I can say is that, this generation is very, very aware of what's happening in our planet. They're very aware of, being active in the community. So I know that from some of the individuals that I have met and some of the projects that we do with college students and so forth, they are looking for not only that job that is technically challenging or exciting, but that your company has opportunities to give back and that your company is very conscious about taking care of our planet.
Yeah. I don't know if Juliet or Veronica, I can tell you that Deloitte launches every year a global study on young people, particularly today on Gen Z and millennials. I'm not sure if it's divided by Latinos, so you might want to go and check there.
And I was going to refer to some of that. It's the research that I've seen. I have not seen anything recent that is specifically to Latinos, but what I have seen, and piggyback on what Yvonne shared, is that our new generation wants to make sure that their values match the company's values. And so when you think about all the work that we're doing from Juliet, from Yvonne, and from the Hispanic Promises, what are we doing that really aligns with what our generation needs? And that goes, social responsibility. What are we doing around diversity, equity, and inclusion? What are we doing for them specifically, as far as, it's just now beyond your benefit is, I want to make sure that I'm seen, I want to make sure that I'm heard, but I also want to make sure that I'm doing good by joining your organization. And that has remained very consistent in the past about 2 years.
Perfect.
And the one piece that I would add for our work, at Flagstar, there was a small change, but I think was very impactful. At orientation for both our interns and new hires, there is a specific section where they spend time talking about the DEI program, social responsibility, and they actually go through every single ERG that we have at the bank so that people can see which one they can relate to, because that is pretty important. I think not just for Gen Z Latinos, but I think all of us that have been involved in ERG groups from the beginning. And I do agree with you, Patricia. I saw your comment. I don't think I've ever seen any research that's specific for Latino. It's always been just more generalized, but I would say that that generation that has grown up here is probably a little more blended with the mainstream. There's still differences, but it's a little bit, I'm seeing, at least in some of our communities, I'm seeing the progress. So I think that hopefully there'll be some research, but maybe companies haven't seen the need yet. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think that you are giving us great input on how we are going to launch our upcoming Hispanic sentiment study. For those who do not know, here at We Are All Human and Hispanic Star, every 5 years we launch a Hispanic sentiment study that tells you exactly that. And I think that it would be good as we continue to do the data crunching on how to separate it by age. So let's see if we can still do it, but if not, it's a great input for us to have in mind for future months. So stay tuned on the launch. Now we have 1 minute left, and then we have 1 question left. So I'm not sure if you might have like a 1-sentence answer for Juan Carlos Reynoso, who asked, how do we break this minority label that the majority created to make us believe that we are not capable of rising to the highest levels of professional careers?
It starts with calling people out. Yeah, I think so. For us, it has been extremely important because that we fully understand that Latinos are not a minority. When I attended the meeting back in December in the United Nations, and I saw our Latino JDP, and I was like, whoa, it was mind blowing all the information that I got, and it kind of reinforced to me that we are a force to be reckoned with, and there is nothing minority about us. And I think that's the mindset that we need to make sure, and that we are also changing our vocabulary so that others can pick up on. So if you hear somebody say, oh, you know, the minority says, well, actually it's underrepresented. And the only reason why we picked that word is because we are still underrepresented in so many fields, but we are not a minority.
Thank you.
The other thing is don't call out, right? Like just walk in, you belong. You don't need to call out you're a minority, you belong, and act like you belong. And it will go a long way.
And my 2 cents is be a role model every time that you can. Speak up, raise your hand, volunteer to be in panels, in different spaces, and be yourself on those spaces so that we can be role models for the future.
Fantastic. Well, with that, we conclude our first series of our Hispanic Promise Capacity Building series. We hope to see you in the other 5 remaining that we have throughout the year. Yvonne, Veronica, and thank you so much, Juliet. You have been fantastic contributors to get us this opening series, and stay tuned for the recording. And we look forward to see all of you signing the Hispanic Promise, downloading the Hispanic Heritage Month Toolkit, and engaging with all of our infographics. Thank you all and have a great day.